Tonight on Your Week.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
Disinfecting America. We'll break down President Trump's controversial remarks about cleaning supplies. Plus,
the West Side Campaign Against Hunger has access to food and the resources to pack and distribute large quantities of food to people in various communities of New York City.
Feeding the hungry, how community groups are stepping up to bring food to those struggling during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we've got our eye on California, particularly the Chinese company Governor Gavin Newsom struck a deal with to provide face masks for healthcare workers. All this and more straight ahead on Your Week. Hello, this is Your Week, and I'm your host, Eddie McCoven. Our top story tonight, poor choice of words. President Trump is known for pushing the envelope, but something he said this week made headlines. I'm talking about the remarks President Trump made about the use of cleaning supplies to kill the coronavirus. Let's take a listen to what the president said on Thursday.
So I asked Bill a question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
So that latter part about injection is what caught a lot of people's attention. Now, when I initially heard this, the words inside and cleaning stuck out to me, and it made me think of what public health officials in the Asia-Pacific realm are doing by spraying cleaning solution, I'm guessing with some amount of bleach, on the sidewalks and in the subways. But again, listening to this back, I am not sure that's what the president meant. Perhaps he did literally mean injecting cleaning chemicals into the human body. Now, many scientists, health professionals, and cleaning product manufacturers were quick to speak out against this, and for the right reasons. After all, there were reports of a large number of people in Iran drinking drain cleaner in an attempt to rid themselves of the virus. The president then clarified his comments Friday after being questioned by reporters in the Oval Office.
Could you clarify your comments about injections of disinfectant?
No, I was asking a question sarcastically to reporters like you, just to see what would happen. Now, disinfectant for doing this, maybe on the hands, would work. And I was asking the question of the gentleman who was there yesterday, Bill, because when they say that something will last 3 or 4 hours or 6 hours, but if the sun is out or if they use disinfectant, it goes away in less than a minute. Did you hear about this yesterday? But I was asking a very sarcastic question to the reporters in the room about disinfectant on the inside. But it does kill it, and it would kill it on the hands, and that would make things much better. That was done in the form of a sarcastic question to the reporters.
Sarcasm is acceptable in most circumstances. Sarcasm during the time of a public health emergency, not so much. Interesting to note, National Review had an article out about this time last year saying President Trump would be reelected provided the economy continued to move forward and there were no new wars. However, in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, I think it's safe to say the president's bid for re-election is becoming more of an uphill battle. The top Democrat on the Hill, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, weighed in on the president's remarks.
Unfortunately, we're seeing Republicans make comments with zero connection to science and facts. Let's just put that behind us and let's go forward in a way that gets the job done for the American people. I mentioned the president and his, let's say, we can kill the virus by injecting disinfectants like Lysol into the body. Clearly and sadly, the president is not listening to medical experts, and I don't know which ones he is listening to, if any. As I said to my colleague a few days ago, last week, I said America must ignore the lies and start to listen to scientists and others, respected professionals, in order to protect ourselves and our loved ones.
Speaker Pelosi also criticized Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell for his stance on not providing funds for states and suggesting that they instead go the way of bankruptcy, calling it a no-government approach. The speaker then claimed Democrats don't want more government than what is needed, adding that governance has a role. Of course, one could argue that Democrats have advanced the size of the state to unsustainable levels, but we digress. Meantime, U.S. officials told ABC News this week they believe Chinese operatives were behind the spread of misinformation about COVID-19 over social media. More news from the nation's capital. One of the members of the so-called squad of freshman Democrat lawmakers in the House unveiled a bill called the ABC Act. The so-called automatic boost to communities legislation was co-authored by Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. Also on the bill, Ms. Jayapal from my other home state of Washington. So what would this bill do? According to a report from Forbes, as it is written, the bill would provide every person in America, without regard to citizenship, a debit card with $2,000 on it. Now, and after that, $1,000 would be deposited into the account every month up to 1 year after the COVID-19 crisis has ended. Well, the use of prepaid debit cards is apparently to assist those without bank accounts and those who do not have access to check cashing services. And this goes for everyone: taxpayers, their dependents, non-citizens, people without an address, aka the chronic homeless, and Americans living abroad, and those staying in the U.S. on a visa for longer than 3 months. And how is this all going to get paid for? Well, we just direct the Treasury to mint 2 $1 trillion gold bullion coins. Apparently, Title 31 of U.S. Code gives the Treasury Secretary the authority to do just that. No word yet on when that bill will be introduced on the floor of the House. In other news, burning question we all have: is Kim Jong-un dead? Varying reports from Asian media outlets have said the North Korean dictator is dead, while others say he is just brain dead, and others say he is just fine. In our State Watch tonight, 2 New York nonprofits are coming together to help keep families fed during the pandemic. Children's Aid and the West Side Campaign Against Hunger have teamed up to provide boxes of food with vegetables, fruit, proteins, and grain, and even milk, enough to last a family for 3 days at a time. Allison Rosenthal of the West Side Campaign Against Hunger.
The West Side Campaign Against Hunger has access to food and the resources to pack and distribute large quantities of food to people in various communities of New York City. And we rely on our partnerships with groups like the Children's Aid Society that have a long history within the community and are trusted and part of the overall fabric of the neighborhoods where they reside.
Residents of New York say it's difficult to get necessary food items at stores, considering the wait in long lines and the health risks involved, especially if they have to bring their children with them. Immigrants are also having a tough time during this pandemic, especially since most work service jobs that were deemed non-essential or that have seen business dry up. Lamar Navas is an immigrant from Venezuela currently residing in Miami.
Estaba trabajando anteriormente en un restaurante, ¿verdad?, de comida japonesa y vendíamos también helados, pero debido a la problemática que hubo con la pandemia, entonces se fue disminuyendo paulativamente el trabajo y no teníamos muchos consumidores por el riesgo también de la gente que no quería salir.
Now, just to give you a quick translation here, what Navas said was that she had been working at a Japanese food restaurant that also sold ice cream, but due to the problems with the pandemic, the work began to gradually decrease, and they didn't have many customers due to people not wanting to go out. Navas said she is working and is apparently picking up some cleaning jobs while her husband is doing food delivery for Instacart. Navas was an attorney in Venezuela before coming to the U.S. California Governor Gavin Newsom in recent weeks said he intends to provide a stimulus payment to immigrants residing in the Golden State, including those residing in the state illegally. But notably, the governor is now focusing on another population, the state's senior citizens. On Friday, Governor Newsom announced a new partnership with FEMA and local governments to have restaurants and hospitality workers prepare meals for senior citizens and deliver them. Here's Governor Newsom.
This partnership will allow for the ability for restaurants to start rehiring people or keep people currently employed and start preparing meals, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, and have those meals delivered to our seniors all throughout the state of California.
It's estimated that some 1.2 million seniors in California live alone. Now, the program would be funded by both FEMA and the state. Speaking of money, there's a lot to be looking at in the state of California right now when it comes to how the state is spending taxpayer funds. Now, according to reports, the governor recently inked a deal with Chinese firm BYD, aka Build Your Dreams, to produce face masks to the tune of over $400 million. Newsom has been asked by reporters about this deal and specifically about when the masks will arrive. Newsom, however, has given no details and has dismissed these questions. In fact, some Democrats in the state legislature now want to see the details of this deal. BYD is a company that has previous business dealings with California. The Los Angeles Times did some investigative reporting a while back on the firm, and especially about the electric buses it built for the city of Los Angeles. So this fleet of electric buses were not very good, as evident by the way they would stall or catch on fire when being driven uphill. Now, BYD has reportedly spent $1 million lobbying the state of California for various business transactions. Also, the high-speed rail project in California is under investigation for apparent misuse of funds. Another thing to keep an eye on when you do make it out to the grocery store this week is if you are seeing less pork products. That's because some pork processing plants are apparently offline right now. And as orders slow for certain meats, some farmers are reportedly exterminating their flocks because they can't afford to keep feeding the animals that aren't going to slaughter. What a waste. In Faith and Freedom tonight, a judge in California has denied a request by 3 Southern California churches to hold in-person meetings during the COVID-19 pandemic. The churches had promised to adhere to social distancing and make other considerations for the safety of churchgoers. The churches filed for this request on the basis of infringement of First Amendment rights. The judge said during a state of emergency, public officials are empowered to do what is necessary to keep communities safe, which includes the temporary infringement on some constitutional rights. That judge's first name, ironically, is Jesus. Televangelist and political commentator Pat Robertson said on the 700 Club this week that the COVID-19 pandemic is punishment for abortion and same-sex marriage. Okay, let me explain something. God is a parent, and a parent does not punish their children with plagues and diseases. A parent does not test their children in an attempt to inflict punishment on them for choosing the wrong path. Now, instead, God, our eternal parent, teaches us through God's own self, Jesus Christ, about love and forgiveness and the way to live a life of peace. Now, punishment is the practice of the wicked one. Plagues, diseases, death, and just plain bad moments in life are tools of the wicked one in an attempt to sour our relationship with our eternal parent and to take us away from God. So, no, in my opinion, this pandemic is not punishment from God for same-sex marriage and abortion. That's not how the God I know operates. However, if you truly believe this pandemic is some form of punishment for societal sins, well, I pray you would go back and read the words of Jesus, especially the commandment Jesus gave to all believers. This week in U.S. history, April 19th, 1775, the American Revolution begins with the Battle of Lexington. April 20th, 1999, 2 teen gunmen kill 13 people during a mass shooting at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado. April 21st, 2016, Grammy-winning music icon Prince is found dead in his Minnesota home after an apparent fentanyl overdose. April 22nd, 1970, Earth Day is celebrated for the first time in the U.S. The man who made it happen was Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin. April 23, 1896, theater patrons in New York City were present for one of the first demonstrations of the Vitascope, one of the earliest film projectors. April 24, 1991, IBM introduces the first personal computer, and on April 25, 1990, the Hubble telescope was sent into space by the Space Shuttle Discovery. Now it's time for this week's listener survey. Americans have been taking life at a bit of a different pace during the stay-at-home orders. Some are cooking more, others reading more, others gardening, and others are binge-watching on-demand TV shows and films. So, we'd like to hear from you. What new activity have you been doing during the stay-at-home order that you otherwise would not dedicate a lot of time to? And will you continue this new activity after the orders are rescinded? You can go to eddiejmccoven.com and register your answer on the survey form. If you like what you've heard tonight, feel free to contact me on social media at Eddie McCoven TV or through the contact form on my website. That's the program for tonight. Thank you for listening. This has been your week. I'm Eddie McCoven, and remember, as President Abraham Lincoln once said, whatever you are, be a good one. Good night, America.